Greetings, fellow primates. Jim the Ape here, and today I want to talk about Joshua Feuerstein. Yes, you've probably heard of this guy. He is a preacher. He does his stuff mostly on Facebook, I think, and he's pretty well known for being a moron. But I think he's not a genuine moron. I think he's a genius huckster. And I think his latest video controversy kind of proves that. Now, I think that Joshua Feuerstein's 30-second video in which he is talking about Planned Parenthood, I think that more thought went into that video than a lot of people are giving him credit for. You see, the general reaction to his video is that he's inciting terrorism. He's trying to incite violence. And at first, I kind of saw where people like CultofDusty were coming from with that. However, I literally slept on it, and in the cold light of day today, I have realized that perhaps there is a more complicated explanation. So now I'm going to be talking about this video, and there's a couple different angles that I'm going to be coming at it from. See, first off, he starts off the video by spouting a factually inaccurate, albeit emotionally charged, description of what he thinks Planned Parenthood does. Now, I think a lot of people know by now that Planned Parenthood does a hell of a lot more than just abortions. They are very concerned with reproductive health, so they provide a lot of reproductive health related services, and abortion is only one thing that they do. However, Josh says that Planned Parenthood, quote, hunts down, like, however many he said, like millions of innocent babies. But that is factually inaccurate, because they don't hunt down babies or fetuses or whatever you want to call them. People come to them for assistance and, for occasionally abortions. So they're not out there literally hunting down babies to kill. Which is funny, because if you read the Bible, there's actually a lot of pro-baby killing passages, but that's besides the point. So, right off the bat, he starts off by saying that they hunt down babies, which is factually inaccurate. And then he goes on to give this gruesome description of the abortion process. And I'll admit that I'm not terribly familiar with the details of the abortion process, but I'm pretty sure he's being overdramatic in how he's describing it. And, of course, he brings up the scandal that Planned Parenthood had a while back, where they were supposedly selling parts from the aborted fetus. Which I didn't necessarily agree with that. I mean, that's obviously kind of a shady business practice, to say the least. But as soon as he's done giving that somewhat brief, but probably still a majority of the 30-second video description of what he thinks Planned Parenthood does, then he goes on to say what I believe are, I think, two very carefully worded sentences. And I think a lot more thought went into these sentences than people are giving Josh credit for. He says that, quote, tonight I say we punish Planned Parenthood. And then he says that I think it's time that these abortion doctors should have to run and hide and have to fear for their life. And that's the end of the video. And now the genius of this is that the part that people are saying is inciting violence is in two separate sentences. And if I can be pedantic and analyze these sentences, the first sentence is I say tonight we punish Planned Parenthood. Now, what I think is the hidden genius of this is that this separate sentence is the one that makes people think that he's trying to incite violence. But if you look at it, he kept it vague. And I think this is why the video is only 30 seconds long. I think he purposely kept it vague, and I think he purposely kept it brief, because if you just say, tonight we should punish Planned Parenthood, well, you may be giving a specific timetable by saying tonight. You're not giving specific instructions as to how to punish Planned Parenthood. And the genius thing is that he did not specifically mention anything about any kind of act of violence. And then in the next sentence, he says that I think it's time that these abortion doctors should have to run and hide and should have to fear for their life. Now, this is more of a statement of what he thinks. If you really analyze the verbiage that he used, it's really him stating what he thinks. And in a way, it's like the difference between posting a death threat to someone online where you literally say that you are going to kill them. It's like the difference between that and just posting a comment saying that you hope they die. And I think Josh knows this. And I think he put a lot of thought into that 30-second video to make it seem like he was inciting violence and being his usual, character, or, his usual moronic self on, like you can see on most of his previous videos. But I think his intention was quite possibly to give people like CultofDusty and other atheist bloggers and YouTubers and people like that, to give those people enough information to make them react and say, oh, look, this guy is advocating terrorism. But just make it vague enough so that upon further reflection, you find out that, okay, well, he actually didn't make a literal terrorist threat. He just made vague allusions to punishing Planned Parenthood somehow, and then right after that directly made a reference to that he thinks that these so-called abortion doctors should have to run for their lives, and run and hide and fear for their lives, as he put it. And I think this is actually a kind of evil genius, because much in the same way that feminists and social justice warriors have developed this professional victim complex, I think that the reaction that Josh Feuerstein is getting is something that he could quite possibly turn into, oh, look at this, Christians are being persecuted for our beliefs, and and people who are pro-life are being persecuted for our beliefs, while simultaneously the very same video is sort of leeching off the tragedy that happened in Colorado Springs. So, in a way, I think that rather than looking at Joshua Feuerstein and saying that he is the genuine idiot that he appears to be in his videos, I tend to think that he's actually a genius huckster. And I think the vagueness and the briefness of that 30-second video is more than it appears to be. I think that Joshua Feuerstein made that video intentionally brief, intentionally vague, and did so with the hope of getting the reaction of, oh, look at this, he's calling for terrorism. When in actuality, he is quite cleverly skirting around the idea of a sort of terrorist attack against Planned Parenthood, but not actually directly advocating it. And that is why I think that instead of the genuine moron that he appears to be, I think that he actually is smarter than he looks. Which isn't saying much because he looks really dumb. But anyway, that's it for me. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. Do you think that Joshua Feuerstein is a genuine idiot, or do you think that he's a genius huckster? And what do you think of his latest video? Comment below. I want to hear your thoughts. Until next time, have a good one.